everybody. Tracy Maudie Smith with SE Coaching here. Happy Monday. I'm a little late getting on this live, and for that I apologize. It's been kind of a busy day here at SE Coaching. Had the vets out to the barn this morning. Nobody was sick. Just doing our fall checkups. Everybody got their vaccinations, and everybody's healthy and sound and passed with flying colors. But it does take up a little bit of time, and it threw off my schedule about getting online with all of you guys. So sorry for it being a little bit later in the day, but I'm very, very happy to be here. And what we're going to do today is we're kicking off our month around self-compassion. And one of the things that we really want to talk about around self-compassion is when we have those bad days. Bad days are going to happen. And sometimes it feels like coming out of a divorce, or even like myself, 9 years after a divorce, when stuff still keeps coming up around my divorce, that when a bad day happens, sometimes it feels like you can't turn it around, that you can't get out from underneath of it. You wake up and your alarm clock hasn't gone off, or you've hit the snooze button a few too many times, and you squirt toothpaste on your shirt, so you got to go change your shirt again before you can get out the door to go to work, and then the traffic is bad, and you're late to work, and your boss is yelling at you. And then it just feels like things spiral out of control from there. And it is part of the privilege of being human, is that we have bad days. And my personal feeling is that as much as the bad days suck, I think it would suck even more if we didn't have them, because we wouldn't have anything to compare then. Our happy days wouldn't have anything to compare. And I think it would dampen that. I think it would be really, 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 really boring if we always had good days and that everything always went right. Now, well, I think the one thing that I would appreciate if it always went right would be the traffic. But, it is what it is, and it's part of our lives and the part of our days, right? So I had a bad day a week ago or so, and actually I wrote about it, and it's going to be in tomorrow's post on Facebook. So really encourage you to check back in here at SE Coaching and read that blog post about my bad day and my reaction to my bad day, and my choices around my bad day, and what I did to process all of that emotion and to process all of the things that were going on. And so just check back in and read that blog post, and I really appreciate it. Appreciate any comments that you ever have around any of my blog posts or my videos, because it really helps me realize where I'm going with what you all want to hear about. And so please give me some feedback on that. I really appreciate it. But so back to our bad day, because what we choose to make of our bad day is just that. It is our choice of how we want to appear in the world, and how we want to present ourselves, and where we want to show up to the world and to ourselves around this bad day. And as a divorcee, I can sympathize with all the rest of my divas out there, that things come up around money, things come up around the kids, things come up around step parents and kid time and custody, and it's just sometimes it just feels really overwhelming. And then the small things seem huge, spilling that cup of coffee, or the dog tracked mud in on the carpet. That one happens to be a lot, it seems. So learning how to deal with that, and it really does go back to that self-compassion that we're going to be talking about all month, and taking the time to recognize the emotion, whatever it is that you're having, and realize that it's there for a reason, and it has a right to be there, and that you have a right to feel it. I think so many times, especially as mothers and adults too, that we're expected to just get over it, just get over being a bad day. Think happy thoughts, unicorns and fairies and fairy dust. And, that's not how we're going to help ourselves, and that's not how we're going to process an emotion. And then what happens is that then that emotion just keeps getting, pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, and eventually it has to go somewhere. And let me tell you, speaking from experience, mine goes everywhere, all over the other people in my life that I love. And I can't tell you how many times I've had children and my husband looking at me like deer in the headlights because I have completely lost it over how somebody loaded the dishwasher, or actually, to be honest, more frequently over the fact that nobody did load the dishwasher. But that it just kept building, and realizing that that really wasn't even what it was all about. It was all about that all of these emotions that I hadn't been expressing, that I hadn't taken the time to process around my bad day that might have been a week ago, explodes all over my family. And quite honestly, that simply isn't fair. It isn't fair to them, and it isn't fair to me. It isn't fair to me to have kept all that stuff inside of me. So when you're having a bad day, I really want to invite you, I really want to encourage you to do a couple of things. And the first one is to find a safe place to go, to be alone, and to recognize and process the emotions. Maybe it's going for a hike in the mountains, maybe it's going for a walk around the block, maybe it's a hot bath, maybe it's sitting in the hot tub, maybe it's just sitting out on the patio. With a glass of wine or with not a glass of wine, but it's wherever you have your safe place that you can be emotional, and you can dig down, and you can feel those emotions, and process what's been happening for you in your bad day. The second thing is that there's a few questions, and I'm going to read these to you. I'm going to go over them with you here real quickly. These questions and all of this stuff that I'm talking about is actually available in a free guide that I have come up with, and I will put it in the comments, the link to get to that guide. It's going to talk about the questions. It's going to talk about what not to do when you're having a bad day, what to do when you're having a bad day, and the most important thing to remember when you're having a bad day. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into all that because you can download it, and I'll put it in the comment section when we're done, when it's posted, the link to be able to get that free guide, which also includes the questions that we're going to go over now. So over 40, Diva's over 40, right? Yep, got to have the reading glasses. It just is. It just is. So one of the first questions that I would really like you to consider when you're having this bad day, and to sit down, and what really works the best with this, if you can, if you're not out walking in the woods, is to actually take the time to write out the answers to these questions, because by writing it out, it helps us to process it. It helps us to release the emotion. It helps us to recognize that we have the right to have the emotion. And it also enables us to not judge ourselves quite so much about our emotion, because we're taking the time to recognize it. So the very first question that I invite you to sit with when you're having a bad day is, what is the emotion I'm feeling? Give it a name. Is it fear? Is it vulnerability? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it grief? Maybe it's joy. And if when on a good day, we can also process good days, right? But sit down with that and really give that emotion a name. And it doesn't have to be a one-word description. It can be a description in as many words as it takes for you to tell yourself, to describe to yourself and to your piece of paper what that emotion is and what you're feeling. The second question that I'm going to invite you to sit with and come up with an answer is, what am I thinking about the issue that's making this a problem? So how we process and how we have bad days versus good days, or the emotions that come up for us around our bad days versus our good days, really goes back to the way that we're thinking about anything. Whether we're thinking about the fact that the dog just tracked in on the carpet as a bad thing because now I have to clean it up, or a good thing because now I get new carpet. So that's just one example of that, to just what is it about the problem, or what is it about the issue that feels like a problem to you? And just go into as much detail as possible around that, and just um, do that writing and free flow writing, and just see what comes up for you. Um, I'm going to skip over some of these questions because they're in the guide that I'm going to put in the notes below, just in the for the sake of time. I think this one, though, is a really big one. And this one is, what about the situation can I control? And it's really, really, really easy for us to get sucked down the rabbit hole of control freak here, and to forget that so much of the things that go on in our lives, so many of the issues that come up when people upset us, when situations upset us, that it's out of our control. We can't change the fact that the dog tracked dirt in or tracked mud in on our carpet. We can't control the fact that that has happened. But what we can control around that is our reaction to it. So we can get mad and yell and scream and throw pillows at the dog, or we can choose to make that a different situation. And yelling and screaming and throwing pillows at the dog is not necessarily a bad reaction. So we haven't talked about this much around emotions, and we'll get into this a lot more in a lot of our future teachings, but emotions are a lot of times they want to be pegged as either good or bad. And to me, emotions are neither. They just are. And the more that we can get away from thinking about certain emotions as being bad versus certain emotions that are good, we're starting to remove again that self-judgment and wrapping ourselves up in some self-compassion around the fact that it just is. I just am angry, or I just am sad, or I just am happy. And none of those are wrong. None of those mean that you're a bad person. It just means when you're having a bad day, you're just having a bad day. Really, really, really important to remember that. So like I said, there's some more questions to ask. There's some things that talk about what not to do when you're having a bad day versus things to do when you're having a bad day. All of those are in the free guide. Gonna put it here down below in the comment section. So feel free to click on that link. Go get that download. It's free. Share it with whoever needs to have it. Share the link and have them download it. And let me know, give me some feedback. Let me know what's going on for you in your bad days. Let me know what you do when you're having a bad day. Let me know what you do when you're having a good day, and what that feels like and what the difference is. So take that time to check this stuff out. And remember, tomorrow's blog post that will show up right here on SE Coaching's Facebook page is going to be all about my bad day and how it affected me and what I chose to do to confront that and to be part of that and to feel the emotions and work through all of that and to hear the messages behind my bad day. So until next Monday, when we're going to have another video. Our whole month is around self-compassion, but it's going to be a surprise. So I'm not going to tell you before then. So see you next Monday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.